43.
42. 41.
40.
39.
Number 1.
39.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33. 32.
31.
30. 29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
21.
20. 19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11. 10.
9. 8. 7. 6.
5.
4.
3.5.
3.
2.
1.
Hey, Rocky, you want to see me pull a show out of my hat? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. I am your host, John Schmitz, and it looks like we have all of the panel coming in, and our guest is backstage, John Rust. He's famous chicken guy. He's I always say, oh shucks, I'm just a chicken farmer. I'm just a chicken guy, but very interesting. We have the bird flu going around, and it's tragic. And I know a lot of people have questions about egg prices going to $1 million, and we might as well buy a golden egg instead of a regular egg. And I see people with memes about how I have 3 payments on these eggs and they'll finally be mine. Well, we're going to answer a lot of those questions tonight. So we got the panel. We got Tiffany, Brad, and Lucy all lined up to talk about these things. But one thing I want to tell you, hey, I know that people have asked me about how do we help out the Mouthwash show? I mean, what can we do to maybe help you out? Because we don't have any commercials. We don't have any income coming in. We're trying to get just enough to cover our costs for doing the show. So we got an opportunity coming up. I'm just going to give you a little teaser right now, but this is an opportunity for you to shop for American-made products that are made in the USA, and then it'll keep you from going to the Walmart. So, we send them right to your doorstep, and then we get a little bit of the cut so we can pay for our operationals. And, the panelists have been on Mouthwash so a long time. I'd like to send them a little check, even if it's $5 a week, then they can say they are paid actors. Right now, they're just amateurs. So we want to try to get a little money going their way. I can see them clapping and cheering in the back there right now, but I'm going to go ahead and bring that on, bring on John, our guest, because I'll sit here and yak all night, and you don't want to hear that. So let's see what John is up to. Hello, Mr. Rust.
Hello, John. How are you doing?
I'm fine as frog hair split 3 ways. So but yeah, so you're having a tough time now. I mean,
we're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, and that's tough. But let's tell some of our viewers a little bit about yourself and your background in the egg farming, and then also, hey, this is a political talk show. We're going to talk about your political stuff. So you've been on the show before for different reasons. And tonight, I think we'll probably talk more about bird flu stuff because we're sort of in the off season for politics, but really we're never in the off season. So tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, a little background.
Okay. Well, my name's John Rust. I am a chicken farmer from Seymour, Indiana. I've worked my entire life in my family's business. We now feed over, I think, 20 million people a day. Produce a lot of eggs, and we're facing what a lot of chicken farmers are facing right now. We are having to, unfortunately, kill one of our farms, the entire farm, because of bird flu. It's struck our farm here in Seymour, Indiana, and unfortunately, it is also striking other farms all across the Midwest, especially in Ohio. Just over the last 3 weeks, 5 farms have been hit in Ohio. And so, our farm was 2.5 million chickens. There's another, I think, 6.5 million in Ohio just in the last few weeks that also have to be killed.
Man,
so that's causing an egg shortage, and so that's why egg prices are going up.
Yeah, that's tragic. But I know a lot of people are blaming Trump because of that. It's like, well, at least you could blame him for it. But
this is just supply and demand, and it's just farmers not being able to vaccinate our chickens against something.
Yeah, and we'll get into more of those details when I get the panelists on here, but I'm intrigued. Now, I thank you for letting me come on your show. And I've sort of already have had my master's class in bird flu and egg production and all this because I'm very curious. I'm like a 2-year-old at Toys R Us. I'm asking a lot of questions. And it's, when it strikes your business like it's done yours, it's tragic. And I am old enough to remember when that farm that you're talking about in Seymour off of 50 was built. My grandma lived not 2 miles from there, from that farm.
Then you'll recall it was a very controversial farm to get built.
Yes, I remember. I mean, when was that built in 72?
79 through Court Acres was built in 79 through 82 or 83.
Okay, yeah. So my grandma lived there by North Vernon, and we would go down and we saw this.
The farm in North Vernon, that one was built in 1971 through 74.
Okay, that's the one I'm thinking of because I remember being little and going there and say, "Oh, they're clearing out all those trees," and then we would go every Sunday to my grandma's, or very, very much, and we'd come back and there's
up next to that farm, and we call it Gin Acres. It's about what?
Okay.
West of North on Highway 50.
Yeah, it's a lot. Now, how many barns are on that one?
That one had 22 houses at one point, but we have since removed all those and put in. I believe there are 4 houses now, and they are large 500,000 bird.
Okay,
so
man,
we have 2 million chickens there now.
Wow, that's a
lot
of chickens.
Cage free.
Well, that hey, in this day and age, that's tough to do because we have to produce so much, and I think a lot of people forget that chickens basically produce eggs and chicken sandwiches. So it's they're not our pets, and I know a lot of people think that some of this stuff is our pets. So let's go ahead and bring on the panel here. Let's see. I'm going to do it this way. Bring on Tiffany, Brad, and there we go. And let's get everybody in the right spots here. Put this over here. Everybody's here. Let's see. Lucy in the middle. Brad's on the left, like he's supposed to be.
Yep.
And then let's do that. Oh, yeah. There we go. Hey, it's good to see everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Let's start with Brad and go across the top there. Brad, Lucy, Tiffany. Brad, how are you?
I'm doing good. Went to McDonald's tonight. I stayed away from the chicken nuggets. I didn't think you could be too safe. So,
yeah, you could ask that question about what happens to. There's a lot of questions to be asked here. Lucy,
wait, are McDonald's prices going to go up then?
They're already through the roof. How can they go any higher?
You know how much?
You
what
say
a hash
that,
brown is? A hash brown is $2.
$2.69. Yep.
Man.
Yeah, and they're terrible. They're so gross.
I'm just saying, cooking potatoes and cooking Italian food is the biggest markup in all of food. I feel like.
Well, I want to tell you though, I bought some Girl Scout cookies yesterday, Thin Mints.
Me too.
And they were $6. And I mean, the boxes. Now, I gotta admit, I've lived back in the 70s when I helped my sisters sell their Girl Scout cookies. We sold this big old box for $1. So now I'm starting to sound like my old pappy, and everything was a nickel 59, and all that.
Did you wear your sister's outfit?
Oh, please. I do have
just the sash.
I got my mom's sash. My sisters had so many things on. They had a vest. They had so many stickers on. They had vests. Yeah, John?
Yeah, that's just what inflation's doing. You hit the nail on the head. Back in the 1970s, Girl Scout cookies were $1 a box. Now they're $6.
Yep.
And
gold was
eggs were 59 cents to,
and the minimum wage was $7.25.
No, it wasn't.
And
it was
$6.25 now, right?
Still $7.25 now. So.
It was 2.25. I believe it was 2.25 back then, or even less. I mean, the minimum wage used to go up, but you made a good point there, Brad. It's like that. So, Tiffany, are you going to complain about inflation too, or you got something nice to say here? We got a guest on here, and the first 2 people have just complained.
I'm chilling because we're at the mercy of John Russ and his chickens because I like eggs.
I wish, we had our chickens in production so that we would be, fulfilling everyone's desire for, economical eggs. But it's just, there's so many birds have died now. For instance, I told John this the other day. The chicken lays about 280 eggs a year, and that's about what your average consumption is per person in the United States. So with 50 million chickens having to be killed because of bird flu in the last year. There are
Ridiculous. This is a scam, John. Why aren't you standing up to it? Why aren't you standing up to the bird flu scam? What are they
Wait.
doing? Using PCR tests?
Thank you, Lucy, because I was going to ask
You know
that.
I was going to bring it tonight.
Well,
I got to talk about chickens.
Unfortunately, like the bird flu, when it goes onto a farm, it will kill 97% of the birds on the farm within a matter of weeks. It's very fatal. And there's,
how often would you have to test?
Why aren't you
Or
giving your
how
chickens
often do you have to
elderberry in their feed?
we are testing every week.
Have you ever tested using elderberry for your chickens? I mean, we homesteaders, we keep our chickens healthy by, first of all, obviously they're free range and pasture, fed and all that kind of thing.
Well, and unfortunately, avian influenza is just very virulent. It attacks very quickly and it kills very quickly.
So how does that actually get in there? We talked about this on your show, and I've heard other people talk about.
Well, there's these dark web speculations that, drones are bringing it in, they're talking about that in Ohio, but we really just think it's birds that are, flying overhead, and then they do their business, and that falls on the chicken house, and it gets sucked in the ventilation system of the chicken house, and it gets introduced that way.
Yeah, and that virus does not affect those birds that are hardier, like a goose or the cranes that fly.
They're carriers, they don't die from it, although there are incidences of those birds dying from it. So this is a very serious thing.
Is this a gain of function thing? I mean, John, you've been in this business for a long time. And, I've been alive for 53 years. That's a pretty long time. It's only in the last few years that we've heard about bird flu and widespread culling of the birds. Is this unprecedented? Was this going on 10, 20, 30 years ago and we just didn't know?
Yeah, and the first time the bird flu hit really hard commercially in the United States was 1983 and 84. And it went through a lot of flocks in Pennsylvania at the time and caused egg prices back then to go very high, unfortunately.
Yeah,
because
I wasn't buying the eggs back then.
And so that was in 83, 84. And then the last time, 2015 and 2016, our farms in Iowa, we lost 3 farms to bird flu in Iowa then. And it was a similar number to what we've lost today. It was about 3.5 million chickens.
So it's just like different states. I mean, you mentioned the farm close to home here, and then some in Ohio. And I think you might have mentioned
but it's all over. It's in farms in California. It's in farms in Iowa, Ohio. I just saw today it broke at one in Pennsylvania. So it is just rapidly going around again.
Yeah, and I heard that this was a more tough strain, I guess, or a more deadly strain.
Yes, it is.
And then go ahead, Lucy. No, that's okay.
Well, I'm so into this because backyard chickens. I could get my chicken lady shirt, and we have something that I'll want to touch on briefly tonight, which is our local planning zone, our planning commission and zoning board. They're trying to outlaw chickens in 2 small areas, and I say outlaw chickens to be a little bit I don't know, a little bit dramatic. But in 2 areas of Washington County, they want to make it so you've got to have at least an acre to have any chickens. And then you can only have 15 chickens between 1 and 5 acres. And granted, it's a small part of it, but there's some other egregious things happening down in my county. So I'm so excited that you're the guest tonight because, you're a serious chicken farmer.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like I live in Mars Hill. We're urban. And Indianapolis chicken rule is 24 chickens, and I believe no rooster. But, and that's from way, way, way back. And when we were in Speedway, we asked about the rule, and they made a new rule, very similar to what you're talking about, Lucy. It makes it prohibitive to do it. $25 permit a year. You got to tell them how many chickens you have. You got to get all your adjacent neighbors to sign a paper. It just, come on, you're sucking the joy out of chickens.
When chickens are outlawed, only outlaws will have chickens.
Yeah, John to be the best outlaw. Hey, John, did you notice there's probably no even blip in demand because, like I said, my neighbors all got chickens and all that. And I was actually, selling a couple dozen every once in a while.
No, I think demand is actually very strong. It's not been affected at all.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured. I just was wondering because it seems like more urban chickens.
But what's happening is, some people are cooking less. And what we're finding is institutional users are just formulating egg out of their products.
Okay.
That's what happened in 2016 or in 15, the last time we had it. the bakeries of the world, they have a way of baking cakes without eggs, for instance.
Well, you can
Mhm.
use flaxseed oil as an egg
Right.
substitute. A
There's
lot of
other
vegans do,
ways
or
around.
applesauce.
Applesauce.
And so we're just being,
Applesauce?
This is all just subpar product, though.
Yeah, we need
Exactly.
eggs.
And I feel like the American people should be aware of it.
Yeah.
They should rise up.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Damn
the,
right.
the easiest way is, we have decentralized finance like Bitcoin, DeFi, decentralized finance. We need decentralized chickens. The if you think about it, the viral load and the ability to, you get one chicken house, right? And you got tens of thousands of chickens in there, and bam, it all goes through. But if we each have 10 or 15 healthy chickens, Joel Salatin, who was recommended to be on the board of the USDA as an advisor, he has really great thoughts on chickens. And one of the things that he pointed out is if every family, actually, I think it was every sixth family in a neighborhood had 10 chickens, and you could get everybody to feed the scraps from their dinners and things to the chickens, that we could get rid of something like 50 or 60% of our landfill waste. And of course, the chickens are going to poop out nitrogen, and it's going to help everybody in the gardens. So, I mean, chickens are really an important
and
bird. I
chickens
think they're
are
underrated.
wonderful pets, and it's a wonderful thing for kids, especially, to have chores to go out and take care of the birds.
I watch chicken TV.
Yeah,
I
that
think
is
it's wonderful.
Are chickens capable of love?
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
yes. Oh, yes.
really.
They're so
They
cool.
love.
Oh,
I'll tell you
yes.
what they do. I take a handful of mealworms out there, and they love it. That's how I get them to behave. But one of the things you hit on there was you told me that one of your farms, all they produced was liquid eggs to go to, say, bakeries and those
Mhm.
and I found that interesting that you have
Yeah,
one
that's
entire
the farm
farm.
that was hit, Court Acres. They produced some shell eggs. We call it shell eggs that go into like egg cartons that you see at a grocery store. But Court Acres mostly did institutional usage, so it would be shipped out in semi-trailers for stuff like mayonnaise and cake mixes and ice cream,
Question.
candy bars.
So you said shell eggs, and then you said this other stuff. So what? Somebody just cracks the eggs?
Yeah, I was gonna.
We
I
have
know what you were
machinery
thinking.
that cracks the egg open and separates the white from the yolk, because a lot of people only want to buy the white for certain ingredients. For instance, like Three
Racist.
Musketeers candy bars or Milky Ways, those have egg whites in them, and some people only want the yolks, like the people that make egg noodles or ice cream.
It's whatever you believe about cholesterol.
Yeah, it's like I don't think
Well,
that. So
dietary cholesterol, fortunately, has very little effect on blood level cholesterol unless you're, unfortunately, not blessed genetically. But
I feel like
people, dietary cholesterol has very little effect on blood.
So here's my wife. She does this carnivore thing. She's been doing it for about a month. So I think we could blame her for this egg shortage, because now that she needs to eat all these eggs, we're getting some from our neighbor over here at $3 a dozen still. But
Wow, that's cheaper than I can feed them.
I
don't know
know
how
it. It's
people like John, like how you make any money, because my eggs are like 80 cents each.
In your scenario, you're relying on us to do a lot of interactions with one another that I don't know that humans are capable of.
Yeah, not to get in the neighborhood together anymore.
Just,
Hey,
regardless of what it's for, I just feel like it would.
Hey, I will tell you, when people get mad enough, they will show up. And
Yes.
Last Tuesday night, the 28th, we had about 600 people show up in protest for what's going on in Washington County with the planning and zoning.
yeah, it's
that's a good turnout. Yeah,
there's a lot of angry citizens with pitchforks and tar and feather and whatnot.
3 people got arrested.
Ooh,
And I thought it was just one of those threatening things like, oh, yeah, I got a noose, here's a tree. No, the ladies at the courthouse were like bawling because these guys had threatened to gas the courthouse. And I thought it was like a publicity stunt by one of the county commissioners that is particularly loathsome. But no, I talked to the sheriff tonight. I staged like another protest tonight, and we had about a dozen people show up because it was so cold. But he said no, it was really real. Like they were tracking them and figuring it all out, and then they arrested 3 guys. And the stupidest thing is, the first guy went to go buy a gun, and then they denied him because they had seen what he posted on Facebook. And that's what happens when you have responsible gun sellers. And then the other 2 guys apparently went to try.
They infringed upon his right.
Wait a second. You live in the country. Like,
Lucy, I'm just messing. Lucy, I'm the last person to. Yeah, I'm just saying it to be an ass. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you mentioned, Lucy, back to our topic about this is gassing. So, John, I want you to tell them how, because these chickens are going to die or they're dying and you got to clean the whole barn out. How does that run us through how that works? I mean,
so
behind the curtain.
farm at Court
Light
Acres,
it on fire.
no, the farm at Court Acres is mostly caged. There is one cage-free house there, but they have to go through and remove the chickens from the pens and put them in what we call as a kill cart. And it's a large wooden cart that we have entered there. It's a CO2 bath. And so the birds just go to sleep. You put it in the cart and they go to sleep.
And then, so is there any, do these have to
And
be
then,
like,
and then we're burying them next to the farm.
okay, so it's like, it's just something that you can't use that for dog food, cat food, or whatever, anything. You just have to.
burying it. It's just you have to do it very quickly because you don't want, one, for that to spread from if there was an infected bird. But
Well, what do you have to do with
out of the 2.5 million birds at so far at Court Acres, we've only had just I think 2 test positive.
Now, see, this to me is like absolutely ridiculous. And how did they test positive? Is it a PCR test?
I don't know the exact name of the test.
Because my understanding is that it's through PCR tests, and you know that PCR tests that you can run a number of cycles until you get to the point where you test positive for anything, and they shouldn't be used. I mean, the guy that invented the PCR test said this is specifically what should be used. So, did you personally observe, John, any symptoms?
Yeah, they're dying. And so we go in and, so we do the test on the bird and, but that's because birds are dying in the chicken house already and they die very quickly.
Okay. So you were able to evaluate it because, I'm very suspicious of government intention.
No, birds really are, we don't want any bird to die right now because, the egg market is high right now. So we want to be selling the eggs to get that money. But unfortunately, we have 2 farms that have it now. Hyde County out in North Carolina and Court Acres. And so
that's what I talked to you.
So 6 million birds that we're not going to have in production for at least a year.
So does the government help you during this time since it's
they will reimburse us for the cost of the birds, but not for the eggs that the bird would have produced for the next 2 years.
So it's basically
it helps a little bit, but I mean, we're still, we have, this farm here. And so, we don't want anyone to leave. So we're going to keep paying everyone at the farm, even after it's empty. We're going to keep paying everyone because we want those people to come back to work when we do get the production back in.
So
how long does that take?
Sorry, John. It'll take at least a year, probably a year and a half. And because of our farm at Hyde County also being out, it may be even longer. And because so many farms all across the country are being knocked out right now, if it's just hitting 1 or 2 farms, there's enough pullet raising capacity and enough hatcheries to produce the eggs to get it back pretty quickly. Unfortunately, there's just such a demand right now. We can't do the normal things. For instance, if it was just one of our farms, we can keep birds at our other farms longer than we normally would. Normally, we keep our chickens around 2 years. But, in an emergency like this, we will have to keep those birds, for at least, 2.5 years and maybe even longer. It just depends. Unfortunately, after a bird gets, after 2.5 years old, the eggs are not of the quality that they would run through the machines. They just break in the machinery and people wouldn't want to buy them because the shells are so thin.
Yeah, that's how my old chickens are.
Are there any states doing better than others?
It's hitting everywhere.
Okay.
And it's like, so I noticed
between 2016 and 17 and now, then it went down to Mexico, but Mexico is allowed to vaccinate their chickens against it. We're not.
Can we build a wall to keep the Mexican birds out of the United States?
Wait. Why don't we vaccinate our chickens?
We're not allowed to because this is the odd part. China vaccinates their chickens against bird flu, but China will not import meat chicken from the United States if we vaccinate our chickens against it. Go figure.
Yeah, that's what I had heard.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
We should just trust all the
I think with President Trump, I think this will very quickly change. I think Biden, they were, just asleep at the switch on this. And, you saw the figure where, 94% of federal workers weren't even showing up for the job. I think, we'll get the USDA people back in and we'll get permission to vaccinate and get the vaccine developed that matches the strain we're facing right now. Right now, today, there is not a vaccine against the strain we're getting hit with right now at Court Acres. So we couldn't use the Mexican vaccine, for instance, right now. But
it's
but
interesting.
that can be developed very quickly, and we're hopefully that they will expedite that and get it in very quickly.
So I'm going to
that
make a
when we-
prediction. Oh, sorry, John. I'm going to make a prediction. They're going to come out with Operation Chicken Little Warp Speed mRNA
sky is
vaccine.
falling.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to put mRNA technology into those chickens, and then my chickens, which are not vaccinated, are going to become extremely valuable because nobody's going to want mRNA chicken vaccines.
Maybe they should have practiced on chickens the first go round.
Yeah, well,
They practiced on ferrets, and every single ferret in the study died in the mRNA vaccine trials.
Well, the
So they
crazy
knew that it
thing
was going to
was,
be a kill
the
shot.
government, Senator Joni Ernst pointed this out. The government was funding gain of function research on making bird flu more transmissible between chickens and mammals.
Yes.
no, that's a great policy.
I
That
was
didn't work out very well with bats, did it?
1 second, John Ross. Wait. So,
And one of the labs that they were doing was connected to the Wuhan lab.
oh, fantastic. Wait a minute. So with this being a national crisis, I mean, about the eggs and the bird flu. So what you're telling me is that the price of groceries is not going to go down despite
The egg price will not go down, unfortunately. So
no.
But in perspective, when my dad started selling eggs in 1948, he was getting 50 cents a dozen. If you adjust that for inflation to today, that would be $6.50. So the retail price at least Kroger's and Walmart's in Indiana is less than that. So it's still less than what it quote unquote should be if you adjust for inflation.
Yeah, but we
But
don't
it
have
will probably it will go higher. Unfortunately, there's just not
But
going
wait
to be
a
enough eggs.
But my point was that the foods that we consume that do have real eggs in them, their prices are not going to go down. They're only going to go up. So we're not going to see a lot
For the next year.
for the next year. So we're not going to see not going to see too much relief in the food market. And then I guess we'll figure out what has real eggs and what doesn't.
But once we get the farms refilled, the price will go down very quickly, and it'll go back to $2 a dozen very quickly.
So, I was at the Tractor Supply picking up some chicken food, and you know what? They didn't have any baby chickens. So, tell us how fast we'll be able to rehatch chickens and then introduce them. I mean, you were telling me some numbers about how you normally do it, how it normally.
Yeah, well,
what you
like I live, in my house in the woods here. I am about 1,000 feet away from our hatchery, and we hatch 250,000 baby chicks there every day.
That's a lot.
But we're repopulating 25 and actually longer or more because we produce chicks for other producers as well. But we can't just go back in and repopulate, or we can't stop the process for repopulating some of the older farms because the birds are just getting too old. So we have to keep supplying birds to how they're scheduled. So it's going to be really hard to get Court Acres going back, but we're going to do what we can. And there's going to be a lot of older birds for a while in the United States. But the key thing is, I think we should be allowed to vaccinate.
Right. And walk us through that process of what, that's more labor intensive for you, and it's more
labor,
it's more work.
It's an injected vaccine, and you have to do it at least twice.
Okay.
And so they inject it into the breast of the chicken, and it's manually per hen, and it's done at approximately 16 weeks of age, where the bird is just starting to lay eggs. A chicken will start laying generally around 17, 18 weeks of age.
And then they go
move them into the layer houses around 15, 16 weeks of age, and they have a week or two to get used to it, and then they start laying eggs.
Here's an interesting thing that we'll talk about. Lucy's coming back in. Hold on. Tiffany, let me ask first because I'll forget. I'll forget. I'll forget. So
what do the eggs do for the first 16 weeks? Sorry.
What do they do? They run around and eat stuff.
What do they do for the first 16?
They're growing. They're a little baby chick, and they quickly grow into we call them pullets until they go to a layer farm. Then we call them layers.
pullets and
Do they
layers.
have
So
fun, or do they have to stay in little cages too?
If they're cage free, they're running around and having a blast.
Oh,
So-
okay, that's good.
so okay,
And,
so
and
this
we're,
is what
we're going cage free as fast as we can. Almost Walmart, all the Krogers, everyone has announced by this year that they would only be selling cage free eggs. Now, some have backtracked because of the economic crisis, and that's totally understandable. My own personal opinion is people should be able to choose the type of eggs they want to buy. I don't think they should be forced to buy any type of egg that their neighbor says they should buy. It should be, if you want to buy a caged egg that's cheaper, you should be able to.
We don't know that existed. I'm just gonna throw this out there. I think that like people who aren't in the egg field, we didn't know that was a thing until I watched the Seinfeld episode. To be honest,
Cage free versus
Seinfeld was like
cage free, farm fresh versus
well,
like
we have
Brad, what do you think the words
phasing
meant?
out cages, so we're going 100%
like I
cage
just
free.
when I go to a restaurant, I'm like, I'm gonna eat an egg. I'm not gonna ask.
No, if you go to the grocery store, they have words that say what kind of eggs. What you thought those were just like typos?
All I would look at is like large or
But,
So
you
is
know, I just
cage
believe
free- is
consumer,
cage-
I think a Republican conservative view, how I view it is, it should not, your food choices should not be forced on you. You should be able to choose whatever type of food you want.
Man, you're making a friend
So,
out of
if
Lucy.
you want organic eggs from your neighbor, that's what you should be allowed to buy.
Yes, if you want
So-
cheap ones, you want
so,
to buy
And
eggs
if you
powder.
want the caged eggs, and for instance, some states, Iowa specifically did this, they have mandated that cage eggs can be sold. So we're facing all these different regulations. Some states say you can sell caged and cage free. Michigan just recently in January of this year banned cage eggs entirely. And so they're, unfortunately, they're facing an egg shortage up there because they were changing over to cage free, and most of their flocks got hit with bird flu.
How much are eggs in Michigan? $20?
I would say they're probably $2 a dozen higher than here right now. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but I'm almost positive.
So what's the difference between cage free and free range?
Free range can go outside. Cage free are just inside barns. So
Okay.
typically in our cage free barns, the chickens have about a 50-foot area. They have the run up, so they can run up. They can do flights, short flights if they like, and jump around and
Yeah,
move
that's
how they
all
wish.
right. So I'm going to ask this question because I was going to forget, Tiffany. So when the baby chicks are hatched, there's these people that can tell what sex they are, the chicken sexers. I guess it's supposed to be a gift.
Chicken
tell me-
sex.
Yeah, there's
I'm
a whole
just saying,
American Dad episode about
don't
this.
shoot the messenger. That's what they call them, chicken sexters.
We're
So,
laughing
John,
at the messenger. We're
Back
not
me up. Back me up on this, John. Back me up. What?
Well, there's two types. It's called vent sexing, which is looking at their organs. I'll put it that way politely, and feather sexing, which is what we use now, and that's the tip of the chick's wing will have really small little white or brown wings growing in, the feathers.
I can
And so
never tell. the
you can tell a male or a female based on that.
Yeah.
And so
And they
that's
said,
how
I
we-
mean,
that's how we sex them now.
and
Are they
what I heard,
And by sexing, I mean determining what sex it is.
yeah, really.
They were
The,
going to use that as a gotcha moment, by the way.
Yeah, that will be. You will be on a clip somewhere.
Like, yeah.
Speaking of shifting gears, I mean, if we got more questions, we'll work those in. But Yvonne wants to know, when are you going to run against Todd Young? Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this show.
Oh, that's 4 years from now. Let's wait and see. I'm a
Yeah,
chicken
that's-
farmer right now.
Well,
and
John,
people like
please
to-
Tell you
promise,
what,
though, if
you'll
Michael
run.
runs against him, please promise that you'll run too, so that
Yeah.
I can
So
vote for
this is-
somebody.
This
Lucy-
is like actually serious, John, because I've debated Todd Young, and I'm going to tell you the story, and I'll make it quick. So I'm not a tall woman. I'm 5'6", 5'6 3/4". So I usually say 5'7", because everybody wants to be bigger, right?
Mhm.
So I'm not like the girly girl that's going to wear high heels and all that kind of stuff. But during the campaign, I wanted to dress up and look professional, so I had these little heels. They're probably like 1.5 inches, old lady heels. So I see Todd Young. This is back in 2016 at the Hobnob, big Chamber of Commerce Indianapolis thing. I'm like, he doesn't know who I am, right? Like, I completely don't exist in this man's world, even though I'm running against him. I'm like, Todd, are you doing? So I went up and I gave him a hug. He didn't know who that guy was. He's like trying to figure this all out. It was like hugging one of my children. I mean, he was that much shorter than me. Now, when we get to the debates, and
He needs
from
to
doing
eat more eggs.
he does
Yeah.
need to eat more eggs. Eggs are the perfect food. I love
Get an egg
eggs.
up
Like,
on you.
I feel so good about feeding my family eggs. And it's eggs, not eggs, because we're in Indiana. So anyway, long story longer, we get to the debates, and a lot of people aren't aware, I'm sure you are though, that when you do these debates, you sign a contract, and you agree to certain behaviors. One of the things that you agree to not do in the Indiana contract is not give yourself any help with height. So you're not allowed any artificial device at all to make yourself taller. Well, in 2016, I was running against former Governor Evan Bayh, who's like 6'3". I mean, the guy's just like tall. And then there's me, 5'7". When we got to the debates, Todd was taller than me, and I had on those exact same shoes. So he must have had. So I'm just saying, it is written in the contract. There are no artificial height devices. But
Heels artificial height devices?
well, absolutely. I mean, they should have called me out as a woman to have to go barefoot.
Well, that
They
would've been
really should have, or
sexist,
they should have.
And everybody
And I think Republicans and Democrats are above that kind of.
So you're
But
telling me
anyway,
so you're saying that he had on shoes like Elton John.
abso-freaking-lutely. And
Those are hard to wear, though. Platforms are hard to wear.
Have
Yeah.
you
they
out
could,
there.
I
I
bet
had
he
some in
You said
not
you've
as
never
high.
worn platforms? Get the hell out of here.
you've never worn platforms?
No,
Oh,
I totally have. If you don't tie them right, you almost break your ankles. Oh.
Wow, we've really gone to an all-time.
So
Can I ask John a
anyway,
real question?
hear.
John, like you brought up the exporting of chicken to China, right?
Chicken meat, correct.
And
We call it broilers.
so
Broilers.
what is the comparison between the amount that you get from that versus the amount that you're losing
That's
out?
high dollar. The egg industry, it's still not, it's important, but it's not anything like the broiler industry.
Because I was wondering if it
Just
isn't
huge
worth it to
dollars
vaccinate.
there. It's huge
vaccinate the
dollars for the
chickens.
broiler meat, and that's why we're not allowed to vaccinate, because the powers that be at the USDA and wherever have decided that's more important to protect, the broiler farms for their sales to China than it is for Hoosiers.
Is that going to change with the
consumers
new
to be able to buy
administration?
shellings. I think Trump will very quickly change this.
So
'cause,
what happens to the chickens after 2 years? They're too old to be broilers, or what happens to them?
They become nuggets.
dog food.
Okay, I was wondering because
Yep.
they get a little tough after a minute. So
And
then what do you
back
do with-
in the day? I'll spill the beans. Back in the day, before McDonald's developed the McChicken sandwich in like 1983, we used to sell what we called spent hens, which is a bird that's over 2 years old, for Campbell's soup and school lunch program meat and stuff like that. But when McDonald's started selling the McChicken sandwich, they used such a huge volume of just the chicken breast for their sandwiches that the wings and the thighs and all the other extra parts flooded the market and took away our market for the spent hens. So it's purely for dog food now, and pet food, cat food.
That's wild. And the chickens
I
that
miss cheap.
And it has
chicken
been for
wings, by the way.
40 years now.
yeah, the chickens that they've actually got genetics now that these chickens grow in like 9 for the broilers that you say they grow in like 9 weeks, and they say that their legs get so big that they break or whatever if they let them grow too long.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that-
interesting. It's interesting watching these medieval movies, and they have a modern broiler chicken running around. It has these massive legs on it that that doesn't have any relation to what a chicken really would have looked like back then.
Yeah, it's like a foghorn leghorn thing. So I said
But our
something.
chicken, our chickens, we don't do any meat chickens. It's purely eggs, and our chickens, are still 3 or 4 pounders.
And what do you do with all the roosters?
Uh,
do they get ground up still? Do they go
They
through
get-
the wood chipper?
they dog food.
Oh, the poor little fellers. Now, once you find out they're a rooster, do they not, you don't feed them or grow
We
them?
keep
Or
very few. We only have 3 farms where we keep the roosters with the hens to produce fertile eggs that are hatched.
right,
So
right.
you
So that the
hatching
eggs
your own
that you
eggs?
buy at a store, they would never develop into a chicken because they're not fertilized.
So those chickens are studs.
Yeah, but has anybody found one of those eggs? It is the most disturbing thing to ever find.
Seems like it wouldn't be possible.
It's just a little red dot, Brad. I don't know what kind of eggs
it had
buying.
A beak, John. This one had a beak.
I'm not saying,
John, Mr. Rust, I'm not knocking this. Like, this happened once, and I'm 41 years old. It's not a very common occurrence ever.
Right after band camp, right? One time right after band camp.
No, that stuck with me though.
Well, since we're on that topic, let's tell stories about the oddest chicken. So I actually hatched some chickens out, and I had one that had a backwards foot. So I sent a text message to my good friend John Rust. I said, "Hey, I got this chicken with the backwards foot. What the heck?" He says to me, "Oh, that's nothing. We've had chickens with 4 feet before." So tell us some horror stories about chickens that have come out with different parts. Now, good news is,
in nature, things will happen over time. And if you deal with large amounts of chickens, there's going to be some oddities come out at times. But generally nature takes care of itself. And like I mentioned, the chicken that had 4 legs, those will oftentimes grow into egg-laying chickens and produce eggs just fine.
That's wild. And the good news is my chicken's foot came around. It's a little bit smaller than the other one, and I'm still waiting for it to lay eggs. It better get going, or it's going to be, as you say, dog food. So
I like how you said that, John. There's even jobs for chickens with four legs. That's
nice. It's like it's an equal opportunity.
No, that's DEI, Tiffany.
Somebody in the chat
not be allowed in the chicken industry, just like it's not allowed in our government.
I don't think that's DEI. I just think that's everybody got a job. That's Republican.
So here's a good
private sector.
If that chicken's producing, it has a right to produce.
Right.
So
right.
Michelle Roth asks, how many genders are there in the chicken business? Now, being a good conservative. Yeah, I was going to say, but hey, you never know.
And John just said too, there's a lot of there's a lot of
there's in chicken that I do know one thing. There's roosters and hens.
Yes, have you ever had a rooster?
Gender chickens ever? So
yeah, that's but have you ever had a chicken with 2 heads? A rooster, a chicken with two heads?
I don't know.
No, that's.
Hey, I do have actually a serious question for John.
Okay, what am I a serious question?
Well, we just had Groundhog Day. So John, I'm just curious. I heard that there is a way that you could tell with chickens, like the shadow thing. And I was told that if you put a rooster on the top of the shed and that his egg rolls to the left, then you've got 6 more weeks of spring till spring, just like the groundhog.
That's a serious question. You got some nerve.
I love the Groundhog Day. That is an awesome.
John, do you stagger the deaths of the chickens, like when everybody's healthy, when all the chickens are healthy? And you said that, they last about 2 to 2.5 years.
2 years, yes. And we stage, so for instance, most chicken farms have 12 chicken houses. And so one chicken house will be X number of weeks. The next one will be X number of weeks. Okay. So that farm is always producing a constant supply of eggs for that farm's customers.
So how do you get back to that? Because I feel like you have to start almost all the way over now.
Well, we are, and so we have to fudge and keep some chickens longer than we would like to, and so that's what's happening now. Is the egg quality, unfortunately, for the eggs that you can buy is going to be lesser now because it'll have thinner shells.
My question. So, John, what kind of eggs do you eat?
I love all eggs.
He's got 24.
I eat white caged eggs.
You what? White caged eggs?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Why are some eggs white and some eggs brown?
Oh,
it
boy.
Depends on the color of the ear.
Color of the ear.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's feathers. It's not. It's the color of the ear.
Okay, yeah, I've been spreading that lie for years.
Okay, this is another silly question. Where are chicken ears?
They're right there. See right there in my picture. See the look by the eye, the
right
little
behind
red.
the eye.
Oh, they're right behind the eye. Okay, thank you.
So see
I have a chicken business question.
Mike, that was a serious question.
I love chickens. I mean, that's why I love John coming on here because, he's actually a chicken farmer. I'm just a gal with too many chickens that are in the backyard. Well, not anymore.
Isn't that wonderful?
The raccoons killed them all. But I'm curious. One, do you use Isa Browns because they produce so many? Okay. Yep. So yeah,
and
one of my
we
friends
do Isa Browns. It's a variant of that for our brown eggs. and we use
brown
leghorns
chickens
for the
work
white
harder?
eggs.
That makes sense. I
Brown
had
chickens work
And
harder.
the main difference
Tiffany?
is, and why brown eggs are more expensive in the store, brown chickens typically are bigger birds. They're just larger, and so they eat more feed, and so
They got
the
that
cost,
booty. Yeah.
so the cost to feed that chicken is much higher than a white leghorn, and
That's
so
probably why
that's why
my
brown eggs
chicken eats
cost
so
more.
much.
But nutritionally, there is no difference between a white egg and a brown egg. They're all the same one.
Well, I had olive eggers and
Just
black
like humans, we're all
Australorps.
this, we're all the same on the inside.
All the same on the inside.
Oh
Oh,
boy,
that
here
is
we
too
go.
funny. So now this is like the serious question, because there is the economics between how much do you feed them and what's the market price, and for broilers, what is more desirable. So I came across the breast, BRESSE chicken. I don't think it's called breasty. I think it's actually just breast. And there's this French breast chicken, and they're literally red, white, and blue. They have blue legs and white
With the
feathers and
feathers
red
right all the
toes.
way down to the talons.
Yeah. No, the feathers don't go all the way down to the talons. Their legs are bare blue. But
Oh,
now there's also American breast chickens, and it's just like the dog thing with the
I
breeds.
kind
Like
of
there are
call those
crazy people.
tokens.
No, I do think they're
Are they
distinctually
really not
different.
tokens?
Yeah, yeah. Look up.
We looked into that, and maybe we'll do it at some point. Like 30 years ago, we were talking about having blue chickens to sell blue eggs, and
Yeah,
green
and you know
eggs.
what? I don't know what color the eggs are, but they have they
The
actually the
color of the
last 2 weeks.
ears.
That, well, actually, that's one of like the big things. I'm in these breast Facebook groups, and people are just passionate about their breeding and their generations. And apparently, somebody had some mean breast chickens, and that particular farm was incubating too many and sending them out, and they were lower quality. And then they had mean roosters. It's like a whole thing. But in France, a breast chicken dinner with one broiler, which is big enough for 2 dinners, is like $100 US.
Ooh.
And so there's this French gal, trying to remember
Well,
her
they cook
name.
it a lot better.
Well,
Just saying.
you know how they do the foie gras, and they like feed the
Yeah, until
geese.
the liver is fatty. Yeah.
Yeah. So what they do with the breast chickens at the end of it is they have them in these like battery cages that are like, I don't know, 1 foot by 2 foot for each bird, and they keep them in the dark, and they feed them milk. They get like milk soaked grain for the last 2 weeks of their life. And so when you see the birds and they've been processed, you can tell the amount of yellow fat that they have, which has got to translate into incredible flavor, is just so much different. You almost get like a marbled meat with these breast chickens. And as a result, they're selling for like $10, $15 a pound US. So
Man,
they're
that's
getting, $60 to $80 for a broiler.
how about a
Is it worth the
Filipino
torture?
ball ute or whatever? John, have you ever heard of a Filipino ballot?
Nope. We may be trying them, if we'll take whatever bird we can get now to repopulate our farms. So who knows? We might have green and blue eggs coming back in. I don't know.
So here's another very serious question. So we had an eclipse April 8th. And so my wife decided she was going to go out and watch the chickens and see what they did during the eclipse. But you probably have artificial lights that tell the chickens when it's day and when it's night. Is that
Right.
true? So,
Yes.
and for the record, if you want to know what happened to the chickens, that nothing. They just sort of looked at each other, and I watched her out in the garden, watch them, and it was very, very interesting. So
on the equinox, you can lay an egg on its edge and it won't fall over.
Have
Okay,
you done
cool.
that
On its
ever?
point.
You've done that.
yeah, that's a true. I've heard of that. I think I've done it
Yeah.
when we were kids.
No, but that was always like a debate of mine because, like, when is midnight? Is it only midnight when I'm doing it, or like, does it have to be at midnight, or is it
No,
the
just
whole
during
day?
the day.
Close. It'll stand right up.
So, Brad,
I'm gonna
we're
video
learning
this.
all sorts of stuff. People just take this for granted. They go buy an egg and they don't even know where it comes from. They arm and volunteer for a day, and then
Well,
they would
Like,
appreciate.
John, can you
eggs a
predict the
lot.
next 30? Like, that blew me away when you said, 30 years ago. Like, if you've been in this, field
game.
for 30 years,
He's been in the
yeah,
game.
the egg game. Like, what do you see happening the next 30? Like from now, I mean, and is what happened in the past
Do you
30 what
see,
kind
do
of
you see
expected?
AI participating in the egg manufacturing of America?
You never
Like
know.
robot chickens?
You never
Oh,
know.
I have a question.
Television show, yeah.
So
I
when
think
you
the big fight, and I think this is the
I'm
there's a fight right now, and the challenge the industry faces right now is cage versus cage free, because, you know, we got told by our suppliers, we had no choice in the matter. We're going cage free. So, you know, the Walmarts and the Krogers of the world said, you will only produce cage free eggs for us. And so we haven't built a new cage farm in 15 years now or something like that.
Huh.
But now that's starting to change a little bit. For instance, you know, Trump is now saying that they're going to make California take pork from pigs that are kept in crates, even though California has a law that specifically bans pork, bacon from pigs that are crated.
Now that's hard to do, banning bacon. People love bacon.
Well, and so it's an interstate commerce thing. You know, can California say you can't have this type of meat, you can't have this type of egg? But if they are produced in Utah or Iowa or Massachusetts, can those go in if they meet a different standard? Now, so far, the courts have said California can do that. So it'll be interesting to see how the Trump administration implements that. But California's been cage-free now for, I think, 2 years, 2 full years.
I have a quick question. What do you recommend people do with like eggshells when they're done?
They would be great in your garden. You know, there's a lot of calcium in there.
Okay.
How about
Exactly what I do with my eggshells.
Feed them back.
And a lot of my friends actually do feed them back to the chickens.
But you don't want them to start eating the egg. So
I don't do that. I don't.
John, do you have that problem with
chickens?
yours?
A little dirty secret is chickens love eggs. And so you got to be very careful so that your chickens don't get trained to eat eggs.
I had one that was doing that. I was like, "You're a dirty rat." It's like,
oh wow.
Well, Well, I think some of the theory is that if they eat the egg, they don't want a predator to come in and get the egg. Is one of the things I've heard. So
it's just the egg. They love the egg.
They love the egg.
It's just delicious to them.
The wonderful thing.
What would happen? What happens if chickens eat eggs? Oh, then you can't harvest them.
They have nice hair. They have their hair get shiny.
They have beautiful hair.
But they'll eat them, right? They'll lay them and eat them.
Oh yeah, yeah. You just don't, like John said.
If they taste it. If they never taste it, they'll never eat it.
Right.
It's once they taste it, they get the taste for it.
Yeah, get the
and
taste.
then they say, "Oh, that's good. I want that."
You know, the wonderful thing about chickens is, like Lucy said earlier, they can eat all this garbage. We feed them this junk that nobody will eat, and then they poop out this beautiful egg. I mean, it's really and not just once, but every day they do it. It's like
5 days.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so 2 things, because I have. So I went to my first homesteading conference where I got to help process a chicken. And that was absolutely fascinating. It was kind of weird. I put gloves on. I'm sure maybe some people do it without gloves, but that would be kind of weird. So I got to put my, after they sacrifice the chicken and bled it out, and you cut it open, you're really careful because obviously you don't want to spoil the meat by nicking the intestines or anything. And then you kind of pull everything out. And it was like a total, homesteading, homeschooling moment, because what was fascinating is when you pull the innards out, you start to see the yolks getting in smaller and smaller and smaller sizes.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the yolks that are getting ready to come out as they develop. It's just like the most fascinating.
Amazing.
Can you come do that for a story time at my library?
Yeah.
I would love to.
Not in February.
Well, you know what? They'll freak out, though. They'll freak out if they see the chicken die.
I think this is more of a teen program kind of a thing.
Well, you know what? We could have a homesteading conference or homesteading weekend at your.
I could come up there.
We've been doing our homeschool Wednesdays.
So cool.
So,
I can teach a class on makeup. Homeschool Wednesdays.
There you go. See,
I could tell yolks. You could do makeup. Brad, what would you do? Oh, you're the guy running.
I just stand there and wave. Yeah,
I don't have any. There's a lot of good chicken jokes and all that. So, all right,
we got to do Tiffany. We got to do a cooking show.
Oh yes,
you have 24.
Because when Tiffany asked you what your favorite egg was, I was actually looking for you to say like what kind was your favorite to eat.
I switch in the mornings. Right now, I'm on a 2 eggs over easy, fried in butter or bacon grease.
I love you said bacon grease.
Oh, I love that.
Popcorn and bacon grease was a game changer.
Mm-hmm. Oh. So, John, I heard you tell me one time you have 2,400 recipes for eggs.
Yes.
Well, maybe you meant 24.
We need to come down there and have eggs with you. Have you been up here to Restoration Hardware? They have a really delicious omelet.
Ooh, I'll have to try it.
Really
amazing, fresh herbs that they mix into the eggs, and then it has the Boursin cheese inside.
That's
Very
good. So we got time for a couple more questions, then we're gonna let John go because he's got to get up there, crack it on. You know how chicken farmers are.
John's
They gotta
not
get
messing
up.
around with any chickens in the
What?
morning. Look at his
They gotta
skin.
get.
Wait
They
a
gotta,
minute.
What should we tell people who think that bird flu isn't real? Or that it's a
Unfortunately,
conspiracy of
it's
some
very,
kind? Like,
no, it's very real.
it's very real and
I was just reading it that it says that with the mutations, it's going to be more contagious for humans.
It's very real, and it's a lot of hard work. And so I'm over at our farm at Court Acres, and helping
and it's
with what we're
and
doing.
it's
there.
there's
It's not fun.
is it just battling that kind of misinformation? Because I feel like it's coming from a lot of different places of like either it's planned or it is there's something more to it. And anytime I would just say like, hey, it is real, people don't believe me. So that's it's unfortunate. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's very real, unfortunately.
yeah, and it's like we'll get through it like we do, but man, it is sure painful during the process, right? And so, how long? Your farm, your family has done almost 100 years in the egg business.
Commercially, yes.
That's crazy. That's a long, long, long time. And like I said, I remember back in the day.
Really, Grandpa and Grandma started in 1929 with 2 500-hen chicken houses. Dad started selling those eggs on the Indianapolis Farmers Market in 1948.
Wow.
And so, you were at my house, John, and you saw the pipe organ. And that's how my dad got into his part of the egg business. Was he was selling sweet corn to pay for my family's church's pipe organ through Luther League. And so that's how we got into the egg business. Was my dad knew he could sell the eggs up there because he did so well selling sweet corn to raise money for that pipe organ. He went back in 48 and just started selling sweet corn for himself, and he brought along eggs.
Eggs, that's
What an
wild.
inspiration.
And then
What
the
an
egg thing just
entrepreneur.
took off. He started selling up on the farmers market right when you started having supermarkets. So maybe you all have heard of a grocery store called Dady's Grocery up there.
I'm not that old, but
Okay, so that
I
was
remember
one of the
Buck
very first
supermarkets, maybe.
modern supermarkets that weren't, where you could go in and pick your own groceries. Before then, there were still a lot of grocery stores in Indianapolis where you had to go into a counter and then ask for everything.
That's for everything.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
it was.
fun. Oh my God. And watch some men run around and get everything.
Yes.
Sign me up.
And so Dad got into the business right when that was changing. And so one of our first customers was AMP, the Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company.
Yeah, I remember
big
that.
time grocery store chain. And Dad was at the right place at the right time to supply them eggs. And so that right where I live, the farm P1, which he built in 1959, was built exclusively to supply eggs for AMP Detroit. All those eggs from here in Acme, Indiana, went up to Detroit, Michigan, to just AMP stores up there.
That's wild. And one of the things people may not know, and John mentioned pipe organ, and his house is incredible. It's like, it is.
Yeah,
it rattles the
that pipe
foundation.
organ. My father passed away in 2003, and the church organ was used for his funeral, but they were going to get rid of it the next year. They got a new electronic in. And so just out of sentimental reasons, I got that pipe organ rather than it being landfilled, and installed it in my house and started adding to it. And so it's kind of taken over that.
You've added to it. I'm telling you what.
Yeah,
we need to have the Mouthwash crew down to see your place there. And another thing that John has rescued, how many organs have you rescued that were from churches?
There's about 12 organs. So the last one I got came out of Butler.
Mm-hmm.
They had a small practice instrument. It was going to be a landfill. And so I have it in my barn down here. And, if another church wants it, I'll be happy to donate it to them. Or if an organ student needs a practice instrument, I'll help them get an instrument.
Yeah, when he says barn, it's this really nice barn with organs that he's rescued from. Don't let him.
Bus, it's parked in there waiting.
John, do you play?
Yes, I do 1 or 2 church services a year, so I can claim to be a church organist. But I really can. I play hymns. I'm not a great organist, but I can play the service music. Okay.
I love that.
This organ in his house, you've got. It is.
So you come down here, Tiffany, and I'll play some hymns for you.
Yeah,
I'm going to come back down and get. when you're hatching out some Isa Browns, I need about 8 of them. So
Okay.
with
We
that,
need all of them ourselves.
I know. I'll let you get your million or whatever you need, and then I'll get my 8. And then
Don,
it'll
I'll
be
bring one back in my pocket.
good. Yeah, in your little suitcase with your little dog. I see you. Am I pretty?
Just
So,
put it in my pocket.
all right. Hey, John, this has been very, very interesting and
Very
and
informative.
always
Anytime.
gracious to come on the show and answer all the questions and all that stuff. And
Well,
Thank you, John. This is my favorite show ever. This is my favorite show ever.
Thank you for having me. And unfortunately, this is not going away anytime soon. So this is going to be a big issue for the next year.
Yeah, and that's
because there's just no quick fix to this.
Yeah, and it's good.
I think it's about the vaccine, but they have to fine tune that vaccine for this strain.
Yeah, and it's good to give people an idea of what we're going through. What'd you say, Tiff?
After you kill the chickens, why don't you burn them in Carson?
It'd be a very large fire.
Really?
There's just, it's such a
well, and then plus it's going to push the stuff back up in the air and spread it. The way you bury it, it's sort of.
Well, we're doing it the right way. We do it so if there's a thin layer of birds, and it's a long, it's unbelievable. At our trench, this trench could be 3 miles long.
Wow. I mean,
because you want the birds to be so that they will compost and become soil and not just
gummy
stuff. A pile of chicken bones. I got you. I got you.
We want
all right.
The cycle of life to continue.
Yes, that's right. We're all recycled somewhere along the way. So, all right, John. Well, we thank you for coming on. We're gonna go to the tinfoil hat moment and all that good stuff, and we'll save you the details. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was. I mean, Lucy, I'm glad that you enjoyed that show. I could see you smiling the whole time about it.
Oh my gosh, I have like another 1,000 questions for you.
Yeah, it's like you were like. It's like you saw the wizard behind the curtain.
Well, I'm just so curious because food security that's a big thing, especially with the conspiracy theory coming up and about the World Economic Forum.
Oh yeah, it's coming up. But first, I want to talk about this seriously. John coming on the show, and I was on he's got a radio show, Freedom 95, that plays on at 1:00, and he had me on his show to talk about politics, and I asked chicken questions. So, I think this really is really personally bothers him. I mean, it really does. I mean, he's puts a good face on there, but I think he's very sensitive about that. Now, where did Brad go? For the love of everything, Ollie, he's killing my production here. I'm just one guy. I can't keep track of all this.
Can't handle the heat when it comes to chickens.
Yeah, no, I think something. Last time he had to go to pee, so that's probably.
I'm glad he takes the time to do it off air because there are too many people you talk to that you can tell they're in the bathroom doing their business. It's like there's a mute button, people.
Yeah, it's like well, at least it was like the one guy that was never mind on the CNN guy. It's like on the Zoom call, never mind. But it's something about a chicken and it was choking. What's that?
He doesn't have to turn off his computer to step away. That's like grandma turning off the phone when she
it's like, well, Brad, he's our buddy.
Save the battery. Like it doesn't.
But yeah, so I really think that that's just tragic when you have to do that. I mean, it's sad, but life goes on, as he says. We recycle it and go. So since Brad's not here, let's run the conspiracy thing. I got to get you guys your colanders so you can look official. I got them sitting right over there. I didn't put foil on them for you. I figured you could do that. That's okay. Don't even try by now. It's all good. So, all right, let's go. Get your stuff ready. Hey, y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out, and let's see what's going on this week. All right. Maybe Brad didn't want to do the conspiracy because it's all come true. Oh, there he is.
No.
Got on.
Did you have to go to the bathroom, Brad? Is that what it?
Yeah, whoever called that out last week is totally correct.
Where'd you go, Brad?
He had to go get his mask.
There we go. Okay.
We missed you.
I saw a little chicken meme with they all having masks on there, but I don't think that's really a.
That was hilarious, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you were the one that sent it. What, Brad? Yeah.
Brad,
so
my favorite.
You got the Thin Mints. That's funny.
Well,
I had
my
a thing of
glasses.
Thin Mints tonight too. That's like
Hey,
$6 for that. It's like
the
there's
Aldi.
So I spent
I bought 4
$100.
boxes. I bought 4 boxes from people that come to the library a lot, and I totally forgot that I bought 4 boxes. I thought $24 was for 2, and I kind of was like okay with it, like because I knew like the markup and stuff, and I was so relieved because I got like double the boxes.
That's exactly what I said. These girls were so cute out there with their little wagon dragging around, and holy cow, you bought a whole everything.
You bought a case?
2. So
Oh,
Nice, good
case
for
and a
you.
half. A case and a half. So so I'm out to eat on Friday night, and I get a call. I bought $100 worth of Thin Mints from a friend's daughter. And then I step out of the restaurant and I come back in and people are looking at me. I was like, yeah, I had to meet my dealer in the parking lot. I had to get my
yeah, Thin
in
Mints.
with 2 boxes of cookies.
I remember my sisters doing this, and it was like a job. I mean, we would go out and see how many
They've
we could
gotten a
get.
lot better at it now, though. Like they actually,
Guilt you.
well, they'll guilt you, but they have you can't use the I don't have any cash on me excuse now. They have like card readers.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they come prepared.
I had cash. I'm old school. I got cash, but yeah, they were fun. They were out pulling the wagon around, selling the cookies and all that stuff. Which in Mars Hill, we used to not have that because they would be murdered or something. So
Busted and
I'd say
robbed.
we've come a long way since then.
Tiff, did your daughter ever sign up and sell Girl Scout cookies or anything?
I don't think Michaela was ever a scout.
We did 2 years of Girl Scouts with my youngest, and just because we got like a great troop that's really local. And we did 1 season of selling cookies. We quit before she did the 2nd season selling cookies. And I've got to tell you, I was so impressed with the marketing, the dedication. We had like training days. They were teaching the girls to, to make change and everything. I mean, it was like serious, and I was so up for it. I was just so proud of all of those girls.
It's nice, and it's like when they treat it educational like that.
It was
It works. I mean,
it
I
blew
don't
me
think
away.
people would
It blew me away.
pay $6 a box if they didn't think it was worthwhile, or buy a case and a half if they didn't think they were saving the world. Tiffany.
Therefore, well, reach out if you want some Thin Mints.
Yeah, that's right, man. That Thin Mint party at Tiffany's house.
I have more than I should ever eat, but probably good.
I saw a meme last year, though. It made me laugh, and it said that Girl Scouts can't tell the difference between counterfeit and real. Just saying. And it made me laugh so hard because I'm like, they wouldn't be able to tell. Oh, man. But I didn't.
I'm confused.
Like, you can use counterfeit money on Girl Scouts and get a bunch of cookies for free, basically.
Yeah, I bought
Not that
6
somebody
boxes
would
with
do
Monopoly
that.
money.
Like, it's
I
just,
bought.
that's why it's a meme.
I traded I traded a Park Place.
You're gonna get somebody beat up, Brad. Those little girls will be like, "This doesn't feel right."
Yeah.
Get them, girls.
Listen, I'm not a role model.
I'm getting all my
Hey,
getting all my badges tonight.
Tiffany, he's the librarian. They're going to throw the book at him.
And again, the mask is on.
that.
You can put
Really
closed
sorry.
caption all you want on there. You can't tell what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's right. It might not even be him. I'm throwing my voice.
You're wearing your mask during the conspiracy theories, so you don't lose your
So
job.
he doesn't get caught. I'm wearing a hat, which will show up on a TV ad. But they try to use.
Nobody can prove he said anything because his mouth.
They tried to use it against Becky Cash, and it didn't work out. They tried to put her on there about her. I think she said all the conspiracy theories have come true, which just gets proven every time.
But
So Lucy,
again, no. Becky Cash is a very beatable Republican.
and
every time I've spoken with her, though, she's such a nice lady. Like, I'm not against her. It's just she almost lost this time.
60 votes.
Yeah.
And they were in question. So, hey, but she didn't. So because we would have been taking the L. Our show would have been taking the L for that one because, we would have been blamed for it. But she didn't lose. So our show's still good and all that. So, Lucy, start us out with the conspiracy.
Well, we have in my town, my county here of Washington County, Indiana, of which Salem is the county seat. What we have going on is the Zoning and Planning Commission going from 0 to 100 miles an hour. And so all of us are really wondering, conspiracy theory wise, what's behind all this? We haven't had, a whole bunch of problems in the county that would necessitate things like there are 18 low impact home occupations, home-based businesses. And they even list houses of worship as one of the 18 that you need a special variance to have on your residential property. And they list schools, and private schools. A lot of people consider homeschools to be private schools. And so here in the county, we're just like seriously trying to do, I mean, like legit investigative journalism. How do we figure out what's really behind it? um, I don't recommend that my neighbors talk about this, publicly, so we don't get discredited. But if you look at food security and the World Economic Forum, and the fact, as John just mentioned, that gain of function research to make, avian flus more virulent, and how the egg production is down, so shortage creates, same demand creates a higher price. And so, literally, what a lot of people in this county suspect is that there are hidden strings. We haven't figured out where they are, but we suspect that they're tied to grants that are available to the municipalities, and there are grants that are available to the counties that, unless they pass this legislation, they won't be eligible for grants. And so that's my conspiracy, is that the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, and some of these globalists have created grants or have mandated that the grants, you wouldn't be eligible for them unless you have this sort of legislation, because they're just really, really
Oh,
ridiculous things in it.
yeah. Well, they just
And
came out
yeah,
with that. They're going to do one of these computer storage warehouses down in Morgan County, and there's 680 acres. I think they're trying to 18 parcels, 600 and no 380 acres. I'm sorry to get it right. And that area where they're looking in northern Morgan County is that's the largest aquifer around. So there's not a problem with the water per se on this, but is this something that people in Morgan County want? I mean, it's a fairly rural
this is
area.
this is an issue. And we've had the pleasure of living east of the Mississippi, so we haven't had the problem with riparian or water rights that people west of the Mississippi, where a lot of our landscape is actually desert. People
And
don't
rock.
know. Yeah. And so i would expect um, I would expect that to happen to Washington County as well, because we're karst topography. We have limestone caverns with all kinds of water underneath us. You can just about put a well anywhere in this county. And in fact, one of my neighbor, where she used to live, her neighbor had it was almost like a cave that you could go in. I mean, it wasn't like a cave. It literally
It
was a
was
cave
a
that you
cave.
could go in. It was a cave. You just had, it was like real small, you got to go in it, and then it got bigger. And so when you were walking around and going down into the ground in this cave, you could actually see the pipe from the well that they used for their house, and it just goes through the rock and through the open spaces and through the
And right
rock
into
and
the
all the way
water.
down until you get a big enough thing of water. And for those of you who haven't come down and seen, like Marengo Caves or Indiana Caves, it is a real treat to
Yeah,
go
there's
down
some
there.
nice ones. Yeah, that's nice. My
Yes.
dad was a big cave
You
guy.
would not
So
believe the
No,
water that's
Lucy,
under the
so many
ground.
people who live in the state don't know about
We're a
the
full
state.
state. We're
And,
just
and
a full state.
but I mean, I feel like I'm part of that. Like, I live in, like, East Central Indiana now. I don't know enough about Southern Indiana, but I also know that
Oh, it's
people in Southern
gorgeous.
Indiana probably do not know about the region and Lake County or up in Fort Wayne.
the dunes.
It's
The
like,
dunes.
it
You
is
have the mounds. You have the Indian mounds
the
there.
state is so massive that I feel like people forget about it sometimes. Like, just because we're taller than we are wide. I don't know, maybe.
Well,
But
and plus our
it's
slogan
just
is the
something.
crossroads of Indiana. Well, I mean, of
Crossroads of
America,
America.
which
Yeah.
means go on through, don't stop. So we should say the stop road of
But it's like we have a lot of. We
That
are
was-
the crossroads. I feel like, because we are like.
yeah, we're
good.
centrally
We're
located.
mixed.
I mean,
It's like,
That's hilarious.
we should be like the dead end of America.
When you
Then
think
we
about
stop there.
all the things going through Indiana up and down and sideways, we're not just the Bible Belt, but we're the chastity belt too.
God.
Not in your house.
That's
There's
I
only
don't know
one.
who's house you're talking about, but
There's only one baby daddy. She's good.
yeah, that's good. I think I saw him back there
Hey, Thor
Bigfooting a
said
little while ago too.
Thor
Anyway,
said start a bourbon farm. I'll tell you what, we actually have right in downtown Salem on the square, and it's like they've got such good decor inside. I was like looking through, but we have like the bourbon barrel or something. It's like a bourbon tasting room, so you don't even have to go down to Kentucky to do the bourbon stuff.
yeah, it's
You
just
can
got
come
to
right
be
to Salem.
51% corn or something like that is what calls it bourbon. But I think I think Kentucky produces like 85% or like
Yeah.
90% of all the bourbon. So they're talking about, this trade war with Canada and all that. I'm like, what? Bourbon's not going to spoil. It's not like eggs. You got to eat them in whatever month. This is like, just hold it for another year. It gets more valuable by the
So
more age, right?
let me piggyback on that, John. Are you telling me that Canadians are so sad that they're having to drink themselves to death with Kentucky
Yeah.
bourbon because it sucks so hard to live in Canada?
Yeah. It's like, well,
I'm
I
sorry,
don't,
Canadian beer is way better than American beer. Like
oh,
Molson.
you probably like hockey
Molson.
too.
I love. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
can
went to
tell.
Montreal for
Sounds like
spring break one year. It
molasses.
is
So it's like I remember we go up there fishing, and when we bring the stuff back across, like we catch these walleye, we got to leave a piece of the skin on there, and they strip searches. It's like I don't know what they're talking about, this porous border to the north. Try sneaking a walleye across the line. They'll get you. They will get you.
They
It's like,
search us when we get.
yeah,
when we come back.
they go. So Tiffany, where are you going now? You got to go pee.
The wrong button. I was going to say A. Sorry.
Oh.
That was my
Hey, hoser.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, let's have some Molsons and some donuts. Oh, hey, let's watch some hockey.
French fries and gravy.
Yeah,
I never knew that was a thing before I went to Canada.
Poutine, yeah.
That's your conspiracy that you didn't know that. So, okay. So,
So
Lucy,
good.
what's your conspiracy that Washington Township is making laws that's going to appease the World Health Organization?
Right.
Or
And
whatever.
everybody always says, well, how are you going to get the conspiracy? The local people don't have to know or understand. What a lot of people don't know, and Tiffany, I don't know if this has happened to you yet since you're an elected official, but you get invited into like the Republican Women's Club or the the coalition of female mayors, and you get invited into those sorts of things, but a lot of people don't realize who's actually funding it. It's like being a pharmaceutical rep, and they take you on these junkets, and that obviously they're there to get you in the culture and make you feel good about it, but they're really brainwashing you the whole time. So one of the women's groups, like Women Legislatures in America, I forget what it's called, but it got exposed. Somebody did like the hidden camera and everything. And what it was is they were going to all these seminars on how to be a better legislator. And what it really was it was a chance for lobbyists to create relationships with people. And then you find out that there will be model legislation. And the reason that you see these kinds of bills explode everywhere at the same time is because they have a central template. And then they're customized just a tiny bit for each state. But we saw this in California during I think it was SB 284. It was the one that took away, even the rights of homeschoolers allegedly to not vaccinate their children. California is really difficult to not vaccinate and still go to a public or private school. If you're a pediatrician, you're going to be blackballed if you try to give any medical exemptions. They actually took somebody's a pediatrician's license away because he created exemptions. So anyway, Senator Dick Han is his name, and he's, as I recall, he's a doctor. He's literally in the hearings about the vaccination bill. The lobbyist who worked for the pharmaceutical company was behind him, and when somebody would ask him a question about the bill, he would stop, he would turn around to the lobbyist who had written the bill, ask them the answer, and then he would turn around and give the answer to the committee. And so a lot of people don't realize, just like who was it, Yvonne, that said in the chat, it's not a conspiracy. You're right, it's not, because this legislation comes from the top down and it's released everywhere at the same time. So
yeah, well,
anyway,
at least it's transparent, though. He's turning right around and asking the guy who wrote it.
Yeah,
we know where he is.
That is transparency, right?
kind of transparent, kind of not, but close.
Yeah, it's it's like watching the sausage. So Brad Thor wants to know, hey, do we need to test you for low T? I mean,
Yeah, it's because I'm drinking the water,
yeah,
I
think that's a low blow, so to speak.
Oh,
We need
So-
and
no.
Girl Scout cookies.
And I passed. I got like a 72.
72 of the thing. Well, a couple Thin Mints will set you straight. That's what I'm saying. So Brad,
I got 2 boxes of Thin Mints. Yeah.
Brad, you got a conspiracy? I got a humdinger this time.
My only conspiracy is at this point, just Elon Musk.
I mean, he's like
Micah Beckler.
No, I mean, like, look at Elon Musk. Like, he's just going into the Treasury Department, looking up stuff. Who elected that guy?
I'm telling you what, he's definitely
full authority.
I
got a comment from the
Trump
no,
says
I don't.
the White House said that Elon Musk is a quote special government employee, unquote. and they don't know if he has a security clearance or not.
Well, he's got so many computer guys. I'm sure he knows what's going on.
And he's bringing people in. Yeah. So,
oh yeah, it's.
I guess at what point do we all just like notice this as a unit?
Well, I think
like, hey, stop.
You know, it was when he bought Twitter. The story I heard when he bought Twitter was there was a big server up in San Francisco. They had 3 of these big server networks, and Elon was sitting in the meeting, and he says, "Oh, we don't need that server up there. In fact, it's like 10 o'clock at night. Or in fact, let's get on the plane now. We're going to fly up there and shut it down." So they go up there. He gets a big set of bolt cutters and basically cuts the cable. And Twitter kept going, and they're all like, "What the heck?" So I don't know what makes that guy tick. I mean,
like, listen, he might be smart with rockets. He is intelligent in certain avenues. I just don't know that we should give him, like, you know, an unlimited credit card with our government.
Actually, he's actually undoing the credit cards. I mean, you know, and he'll put out his nightly what we cut at midnight. I mean, come on, dude. Nobody's up at midnight. Maybe there's a reason.
But he is. And like that's the thing too, is he is forcing everyone else to go by his timeline or his pace.
What they do. That's what they do when they want to take over the world, Brad.
But
that's what they do.
And I have an earful of people telling me that this is what they voted for, and but I don't know that completely it is what they voted for.
No, I don't think so either. I think everybody's sort of collectively holding their breath. Some are more optimistic than others, but some people are freaking.
I don't trust him. I don't trust him a bit.
But look how so how does he have that much access?
Because Trump trusts him. I mean, because everybody sort of thinks he's a genius. Everybody believes it.
Who is going to tell him no?
Now, I'm not going to. I'm not bad mouthing him. I'm not bad mouthing him. I like having the show. I'm like,
know very well.
You know, it's like you don't want to bad mouth the guy.
Okay, so
can we
think back to Elon's wardrobe choices when he went to the Met Gala and he wore this beautiful white jacket? He was there with Grimes, the mother of a couple of his children that he's
when he kept making the face.
No, it was a beautiful jacket and it was embossed with the New World Order on the back. And then did we forget about his Halloween costume, which was the Devil's Champion? And it literally has an upside down cross about it. But you guys haven't been paying attention to all your memes. Somebody, and I think it was actually Trump Jr., posted a picture of Trump looking into a mirror and looking back was the GOAT. Like, oh, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. I'm like, no, that's the satanic goat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
and then, how about this one?
Yeah.
When he did this one,
I don't think he would know that.
Well, first of all,
you have to understand like the Bible and understand like religion.
You guys need
to
get
that reference. And I don't know that Trump knows that.
Trump
just because he puts a name on just because he puts his name on something does not mean he understands it.
Hey, he had stakes, and those were the best.
Those were we call those mistakes. Yeah, that was a mistake.
in case you all didn't know, if you're a Satanist, and if you are, a Freemason or any of these people that are literally taking over the world, they're levels above the Freemasons, obviously. They believe in karma, and they believe that if you make the choice to do the stupid stuff like, get a COVID vaccine, that you, oh yeah, the Red Bull is another one, that you have made the choice and they didn't murder you. It's on your karma. It's not on their karma. And so they openly tell you these things. That's why you see the Simpsons episodes and they literally tell you what's going to happen.
So where's the Patamos?
And Yvonne said, she's talking about Red Bull, but Monster has those three things that comes down. My understanding is each one of those is a 6 in Hebrew.
Yeah,
and liquid death is the worst thing to ever happen to concerts, ever.
Yes,
it's like
$4 for an aluminum can of water.
It's like drinking a flat beer, like it.
So what's the appeal? Just the name and the stigma?
No, because it's the only kind of water that they sell.
Okay, so where's the Patamos? Spiro's gonna, move to the island of Patamos.
Isn't that where John was and received his revelation? Am I wrong?
Oh, I don't know. That sounds amazing. I thought it was.
I mean, that whole Mediterranean area, Greece.
Spiro, awesome. Am I wrong? So. Yeah, Spiro said I'm right. You know what? I am the phone a friend. It's me. I'm phone a friend.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you were something before Google, I bet. That's for sure. So So yeah, if you read the book of Revelations, it talks about Babylon and how the other countries are going to be picking at its bones. And you think about our trade deficits and everything, you know, and then I'm just saying that's what we did. They're picking at our dollar. They got the bricks coming and everything else and all that. Like Brad, like this is my conspiracy, by the way.
I'm shaking it up because it's too flat.
It's too flat. You don't want it to be like liquid death, flat beer. So anyway,
liquid death is just.
I'm going to do my conspiracy theory, and this is about Indiana politics. This is, we got that property tax bill that's so important, Brad. You've heard about it, haven't you? There, SB1, it's dead. It's going to float around in there, and they're going to kick it around, and then all of a sudden it won't hear it. It'll be gone.
Are you telling me that they're not going to be able to do what they ran to do?
Oh, and Braun's going to lose his freaking mind too. So, yeah,
is it going to be Micah's fault? Please, is it going to be Micah's fault?
No, I don't think it's going to be Micah's fault, but they're going to blame somebody that can't lose their election type of deal. So, but did you see that? What was the one of the people that authored the bill to strip Micah of his power? She was caught sleeping in the committee meeting.
Caught sleeping? They were doing that a couple weeks ago.
Well, again, I don't know that you can tell.
Oh, it was this.
You're looking at something for a little.
No, it was this, Brad. It was it. I don't. It was that. So.
No, the best because I saw it, and I'm pretty sure she did get startled.
Maybe she's not.
It was all about the startle awake. Like somebody walked behind her,
jump, like falling off of something.
You saw her kind of like,
Yeah, we'll have to ask Whitty next week on Whitty reviews because he's taking the week off this week. He's got to take a knee. He's out of control a little bit. So,
well, I mean, he's got to lower his blood pressure.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot more than a week off. So,
yeah,
I'm just saying. So
it's only going to get him like riled up. Yeah.
You got anything before we call this thing? We phone this one in.
I don't know. As John and Lucy were talking, I really got the feeling that Lucy was trying to give us some context clues that the bird flu is not really a thing, and that what we're calling birds who are testing positive, they're not really diagnostic. Well, it's not like scientifically that they're proving that they're testing positive. So it really makes me think that whoever's in charge of the matrix has said, Trump, you can have this, this, and this, but damn it, we're going to go with this bird flu plan. We've got this plan for bird flu, and we're just going to run the play. So you can bring down the price of gas. You can do all that other stuff. You can do executive orders, but you can't stop the bird flu. And we're going to
and that's what, that's a pretty good, Tiffany, that might be your best conspiracy yet. The fact that Trump's going to bring down the price of eggs, and then those pesky people that want to see him fail are out there pumping the bird flu up into there and all that. Yeah, that's got
they just flood the internet. Like if you read about bird flu right now, it'll be like bird flu. Oh my gosh, it might be transmissible between mammals. Oh my goodness, these are the symptoms in humans. And one of the
things, it'd be cool if like the CDC or like the National Health Institute, like they were allowed to give out updates.
No, I just want them from the internet. Thank you. Please.
Yeah, the internet's
so bad. Yeah, because
who
wants it from
you know what?
This is what I think is like the symptoms of bird flu are essentially flu with conjunctivitis. So
Tiffany, we don't have to worry about the bird flu, but Brad might, since he's got low T. I heard it affects people with low T.
Hey, I want to give some serious medical information that is firsthand.
Here we go, trying to be serious. Okay. What do you got, Lucy?
So I do need to disclose that I work for this company. This is my quote daytime job. I'm the director of wholesale there. So it's my job to call, pet food stores and dog groomers and things like that to get the products in there, and health food stores for the human products. CBG, there's all different kinds of CBDA. There's CBD, CBG, CBA, all different kinds of ones. So we have a product that's CBDA, and it's an antiviral. So when I noticed that my cat was weeping and had all kinds of crusties, I took her favorite little treats and I just put a drop. I gave her a 20-drop dose, and in 2 days, her eyes are completely clear. So if you don't already have CBGA, you can go to, you know what? I'm not going to tell you. You have to DM me because they have not paid to sponsor the show. But I just want to let you guys know if
Well,
you have
Lucy,
like
you
seriously,
got some earned media here, so don't worry.
I
Oh,
appreciate it. Okay,
Lucy.
botanicalenlightenment.com. And
Botanicalenlightenment.com.
botanicalenlightenment.com.
Okay. Thank you.
And lots of really good testimonials, but that's what I use with my animals and with my people. If I feel sick, I just do some CBGA under my tongue, and then I'm an insomniac, so I take our Lion's Mane CBD combo to go to sleep.
Lucy, I want to hear your telephone voice when you're selling your products.
Actually, people accuse me of being AI because one of the things that I do, I teach sales and I teach, prospecting and cold calling and things like that. And one of the things that I do is, first of all, before I start calling, I'll drink tea that has like licorice in it or something to help, clear the mucus and to keep your mouth moist. So I'm not, because if I don't eat dairy, then I don't get the mucus. But everybody loves cheese, like I love cheese. So first of all that, but then I lower my register because it's much easier for someone to hear you if you're in your lower register and you have more authority. And that's one of the things that I
Do you
do.
wear tall shoes when you're not talking on the phone?
Yeah, and I put on
Well,
my high heeled shoes so that I'm
so
taller than
so
Todd, although I could do that on my stocking
please
feet.
send me that tea recipe. I did 101 phone calls today for my campaign for the chairman of Marion
It's
County.
traditional.
Jeez,
It's
John.
traditional medicinals. Go to
I know.
Walmart and get Throat Coat or get Breathe Easy.
And then,
Those are both really great formulas, and it doesn't really matter whether you get the Yogi brand or the traditional medicinals brand. They're both
hey, boo
great.
boo, I want to get the Yogi brand.
I
The
knew
Rangers
you
not
would.
gonna like this one.
But
Yeah,
the
let me
stuff
know how
is
your
it's a
throat
miracle.
coat works out, John.
Yeah. You two on top. I could just delete you. I don't even have to put up with it.
That's funny.
So me and Lucy could have a show without you. I'm just saying. But
Yeah, I'd have to wear the tinfoil hat the whole time.
yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would be. It would be.
But hey,
We
one
love you
thing
guys,
that
though.
like
We need
seriously
you.
people should be thinking about right now in all seriousness, and the egg thing that we talked about with John tonight is a real wake up call because it's chickens are not that hard. They're super easy. They're inexpensive. I mean, you can go to Tractor Supply here in a couple of weeks or
Yeah,
Rural
it's gonna be a
King.
minute.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like, though,
And
Lucy, like, what kind of regulations are there for, like, I mean,
in
is
Marion
it
County,
possible?
you get 12 hens and a rooster.
Well, I just mean, is it possible for like a health outbreak to happen because of unregulated chickens?
Well, but the thing is, we're such small
Not
farms.
throwing it like, but
Yeah,
like,
it's such a small farm, and honestly, they could get it almost easier because my chickens are free range outside, and
Yes.
I have all sorts of birds coming in there, the little sparrows and all that. But the ones that carry it are the geese and the cranes that migrate, and right now they're migrating, and John's farm is right by Muscatatuck, which is a wildlife refuge, and that's a big stopping place for these sandhill cranes, and these that are flying. So it's it's
So
just
let me
nature.
speak to that because I just last week we had my kids go to a rural public school, less than 1,000 kids K through 12. Okay, so this is small. We had more than 30% of the kids call in sick on Thursday. And when you hit that marker of 30% of the kids calling in sick, then, it's like Department of Health tells you shut the whole school down. So my
Yep.
kids did virtual on Friday. So when you think about, combined animal feeding operations, which is what a chicken house is, whether they're, in a cage or not, they're recirculating and breathing the same air. There's no way to effectively clean it. My chickens, John's chickens, they're going outside. They're getting fresh air. They're getting, sunlight that, you know, cage free just means you're in a big barn. You're in one big cage with
Yeah,
everybody
just
instead of
one
little
big
individual
cage.
cages. Yeah,
So,
so I didn't say anything about that because I didn't want to say anything negative.
but yeah,
But
and
the
that's
fact of the matter is, if you want your chickens to be healthy, elderberry is extremely good for anything respiratory, both for humans. I mean, if you'd eat an elderberry gummy every day or take an elderberry pill every day or eat elderberry toast, jam on your toast, you won't get sick. My neighbor hasn't had the flu in like 8 years because she does a gummy bear every day. But elderberry is one of the easiest things to propagate. So right now it's February.
that actually grows My
Oh,
chicken,
it's incredible.
and it's the purple thing, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of, yeah.
Yep. Now,
Yeah.
as
So
humans, you don't want to, they generally say don't eat them raw. The berries are the only thing that you can use. So they come out, they're an umbral, so it's like an umbrella, and then they've
yeah,
got all these little white flowers. You can take the white flowers and like dip them in pancake batter and basically make like elderberry flour pancake. There's elderberry flour spritzer. You can get that at IKEA, by the way. They have elderflower drinks. But once those elderberries get there, one of the most entertaining things to do is to just take elderberry sticks and just stick them in the ground around your chicken coop or around your fence line, and they're going to root and grow on their own. They're like one of the top 3 easiest things to propagate. You
yeah. They
literally
just,
just
I mean,
put
I didn't
a
even
lit
plant them, and they grow there. So
yeah, go get, I mean, like February is the time to do the propagation. So literally just take the sticks and cut them off and stick them in the ground. Like it's easy. And then after they root and they start to grow, those berries come up and they kind of hang down.
yeah, they
And there's like
grow.
a
They
hundred
look
of them
like a
on a
grapes. They look almost like grapes.
yeah,
A
they're
little bunch of grapes.
little
They're
tiny
perfect,
things.
like chicken feeding height.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
And
the
my
chickens, they like hop up and they fly up and they
Yeah.
eat. I mean, it's like endlessly entertaining. I mean, maybe I'm easily amused,
almost as
but the chickens are
entertaining as
just
the eclipse and Lisa watching it. All right, folks, that's it for this week. We've done it. We're averaging about an hour and 10 or hour and a half now. So great show, another great show. I don't know who we have on next week, but it'll be a surprise for everyone. So how's that? So let's see. Let me find the button, and then we'll see y'all next week for the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. I'm John Schmitz. That's Lucy Brenton. That's Tiffany Detlinson, and that's Brad Sawinski, the Mouthwash team. So we'll see you next week, 9:00 Tuesday.
Brad's
Adios.
button. Brad's fingers on the button.
Yeah.